Yo.
New setup.
Yo.
Trying it out.
Yo.
Yo.
We're here. Is it rolling?
Episode 4.
I wore some different clothes again,
Me too.
but I didn't change my underwear this time. Yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah, me too. This has been the most consistent run of podcasts I've ever produced. So
It's I was like kind of excited about this one because I'm normally like, okay. And then I was like, I'm kind of excited. So I listened to podcast 3 on the ride to work in 1.5 speed, which I didn't know about that until you told me.
it's the only way to listen to yourself talk.
And I sound so much smarter when I'm speaking in 1.5 speed.
Yeah. If you go 2x, it gets a little out of hand.
I might try that, but I don't want to get a speeding ticket if I'm listening to it while I'm driving. No, it was kind of fun to listen to. I was like, okay, well, I hope somebody gets something out of it, which it's been kind of an interesting week around it because I think we did our first and second, which a lot of people didn't know we actually did a second because I wore the same clothes. But the third, a lot of people are like talking to me about it. They're like, oh man, like sending me a picture on my text of it on their TV in their living room.
Yeah.
I'm like, these people are listening to me talk for an hour in their living room when they can like do something way cooler, but I guess they like it. So it's kind of cool.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised that Rita, my partner, listens to it. I didn't think she'd. I mean, I only talk about 5 minutes of the entire episode, but people just want to hear what you got to say, man. You're an interesting fella. You got a lot of cool stories and a lot of success to back up what people are here to learn.
Yeah, I think it's kind of fun just to get to know somebody. Like, I keep talking like, we're going to do 50 podcasts. And I'm like, how am I going to have that much stuff to talk about? But as long as I like keep wearing different hats and different outfits, I think we could figure it out.
Should we go shirt shopping this week?
No, I don't do male makeovers. I did wear a new hat today. I tried to find my Baker cattle hat, but I couldn't find it. So that's an inside joke. I wore my Velvet Arms hat. It's my buddy's company teaching concealed weapons courses and different things like that. And he's just a good person. I don't think I'm supposed to talk about the fact that I have a hat because it's the first one.
Oh,
But I kind of want to rub it in a little bit.
That's limited edition.
I want some new hats, man.
Yeah.
I need some new swag. I'm going to start wearing like different companies' hats like every time. I got some really ugly ones.
Uh-huh.
I have a hat that we call the $2 million hat. I'm going to see if I can find it and wear it. I've been working with a gravel company for, I don't know, 20 years. And I never got a hat. And I was like, wow, like what I got to do to get a hat? And they're like, I ain't ready for the hat. I'm like, I want that hat. You know, it was like kind of became like a goal. Like, how am I going to get this hat? And I did a job where we used over $2 million worth of gravel. Yeah, it was a lot. It was like astronomical numbers. Just nonstop I mean, it was so tremendous. Like, I was like, how does the earth even stay on its axis now that we moved that much stone from this pile to this new pile? But it all works out in the end, I guess. And that's a scientific situation. But through that scientific experiment, that I'm glad I didn't knock the earth off its axis, I got a hat. And it's so ugly. Gosh. But I got one. And I might have got 2. So I think like for every $1 million in gravel you spend, you get 1 free ugly hat. So, you know, it's kind of fun to like promote your friend's business and wear it around and talk about it. Hey, what's that? Or, you know, make some people jealous. And sometimes when people get jealous, they give you a hat too because they're like, I want him to wear my hat. So bring them on.
Oh, man. Might need more than 50 episodes for the hats you're about to receive after this statement.
I'm ready, though. I'll do 300 if I got to. No, but I think the podcast has been super cool. You know, customers, clients, family, friends, people I don't even know have been like, I enjoy listening to it, and so it's kind of a cool thing. It's like in giving we receive. You know, so I know I talked about last time giving merch, giving hatchets, stuff like that, truck. It was a big deal, dude. I saw that truck the other day. We call it the dirty Band-Aid. I don't know why. I think my daughter comes up with like funny names. She's pretty funny. I try not to laugh like super insane at her stuff because I don't want her to know how funny she is because it might go to her head. But she named that truck the dirty Band-Aid for what reason I have no clue. The color of the truck may resemble a like clean Band-Aid, and then it gets dirty from driving on a dirt road, so maybe that's why. Um she's also we had another guy that worked here named Matt. Super good guy, and that's a cool story. He his name was Matt as well, and as was like, we're gonna have to call him Baby Matt, and I was like, that's hilarious. So he's still known as Baby Matt, and he's a grown man, and he has his own company, and to everyone that has worked with him, he's still Baby Matt, and I think it's great because it's stuck, and so she might like have a future in branding, yeah, unless AI takes it over. But I heard farmers are like not selling their land to AI factories, so go farmers.
Some of them.
We need some food, bro.
Yeah.
Can't be eating like AI generated.
We also need the water that AI uses to generate stuff.
That's
to
a lot
make
of water.
the food.
It's a lot of water. Speaking of brown water, Chantal.
You got the Chantal today?
I do. I gotta give a shout out.
Some good stuff. Some small batch, local made stuff.
I know. I kind of like that name, Chantal, even though they're not that tall. He's strong though.
Yeah.
At least he looks strong. I haven't really ever like wrestled him, but I might call him out. Let's go. I don't probably want to do that, but like I do have a friend that I know can take him in a wrestling match, so I might have to call my champion in if he wants to actually wrestle after this.
It's called jujitsu.
Yeah, I
Which,
know.
now that you're an elk hunter and a podcaster,
Yeah.
it's the right next step.
Yeah. Yeah, I might it's weird though, because like in my head, like I've had a lot of friends in martial arts. I don't know why. Maybe because it's a sign that I should do martial arts. I did have one comment that like I look like I put weight on. It was like a secret comment, not public. But it's the chair. Like it makes me look at least 4 times bigger than I actually am. I am bigger than I was when I was born and a teenager, but I'm not that big. It's the chair.
We
And
changed the angles, got the little things going on. We're sitting up straight.
I'm gonna get a Jawzrsize. I'm gonna start doing this thing, man.
We need to get some sponsors up in here.
Yeah, what's up? Send me a Jawzrsize. I'll do it during the podcast. One whole podcast of Jawzrsizing.
ASMR.
I won't even have a face anymore. It'll be so small that it's just and tight.
If there's one thing I can say before we really get deep into this podcast is for all the friends and family that are commenting in person, don't stop doing that.
Yeah, no, we want the comments. More comments. So like I am gonna actually research who commented. Like I did look, but like I'm making a list. And you're getting stuff real soon.
Ooh.
Like shaplam. I'm sending
There's
it.
incentives.
Full send.
We need subscribers. We need comments. We need likes and shares. Just on the digital formats, it helps get this out and grow it a little bit. But
it makes me want to do it more.
yeah. But the in-person comments you're getting are
Yeah, the
pretty
in-person are
profound in
cool.
a way too.
They're good. Those ones don't get hats though. They just get high fives or shrugs or thanks, but give me a comment.
Yeah, you got to check if they're subscribing in real time right in front of them.
I'm gonna start checking, man. Gotta follow through. No, but like it has been fun and setting it all up, and Dan's done a great job. I mean, I feel like it's amateur hour, like, for podcasting, but it looks really good, and that's because of you and, like, the work you've done. Hearts Media is just throwing down.
This is fun, man. This is like we've been working at getting this studio built for this exact purpose for in collaboration with Omnibuild for almost the whole year. So it's just like it's finally come to fruition, and like it's winter time, so it's a little bit of a slower time to get you in here, and hopefully we can keep the consistency when everything's guns a blazing. But
It feels like guns a-blazing this week.
I'm sure.
Goodness.
And like you said, how are you going to talk 50 episodes, 300 episodes? I feel like every week you have some stuff, some serious things going on, whether it's good news, bad news, or both.
Mostly bad, but turns into good.
But the way that you handle it is worth the discussion of. It could literally be like what happened this week, and I
Yeah.
think that's interesting.
No, I do too. I mean, I think I, like, screwed myself up this week because, like, up until this point, I haven't thought about what I was gonna say until I sat down in here, and this morning, somebody was late for the podcast, so I had 5 minutes to think about what I was gonna say, and I probably messed up. I shouldn't have thought about it. I should have just, like, looked at Instagram and doom scrolled for a little bit.
Clear the mind.
Yeah. Nah, I mean, to me, I think it is like Forrest Gump, man. Life's like a box of chocolates, and it truly is like that. You honestly don't really know what is going to happen every week. I mean, you kind of do. You do some prep. You eat food and you breathe air and you shower and you clean your clothes and you try and sleep and prep for the next day, and you make notes from the day before, keep a calendar. But, like, I look at my calendar a lot of times and it's like two things and I'm like, "Oh gosh, it's going to be so busy," cuz I already know that there's like 20 things that just haven't presented themselves yet. I think adapting to the situation you're in is really important, and not overwhelming yourself. It's like I think I used to compound my schedule like pretty close back to back to back to back, and I think nowadays I try to like leave little bits of time in between to process all the things on my calendar I don't even know about yet. Like I'll be processing things after this podcast that have come up that I don't even know cuz my phone's on silence. And I think it's like how you deal with those things is what makes you a strong person for your leadership position. It's like I think it's what defines me to my team. I mean, they know that if they ask me something or need something from me, I'm going to find a way to make that happen as fast and efficient and effectively as possible. And I think being able to adapt to all those different things that come up throughout the day is, it's a big piece of being in business and being successful and, keeping productive. Like this past week, I'm working through scheduling for the year, working through banking. I talked about that a little bit last week. And, one thing I want to say is that I think I immediately sometimes react to situations and I get kind of overwhelmed, and I might say something that, like, I worked with my banker and he said something I really didn't want to hear, and I immediately was like, that's it. I'm going scorched earth, and I'm not working with this person anymore. And I stepped outside of myself for a minute and I was like, well, okay, let me like ask him why he might have said that, and let me find out what the real truth is behind that, because maybe I need to um look at something inside myself. I gave myself that opportunity and I gave myself that time to kind of sit back out of myself for a minute and scheduled the meeting with him, which he asked for, and I obliged, and we had a meeting, and I learned a lot about what he was saying, and when he was first saying it, it was bothering me because he wasn't saying the things I wanted to hear. He was actually saying the things that I probably needed to hear, and he was trying to coach me. And sometimes I don't want to be coached by somebody I don't freaking know because I have no like real relationship with them. So there's nothing there yet that makes me believe that what they're telling me is actual weight and has benefit to my life. And so he came in and I kind of let my like guard down and I said, I'm just going to listen. Courtney was a big help in that. She's like, let's give him the opportunity because I think she was triggered too. Um, and we talked to him and I think the whole time I was like trying to find a reason why I was right and he was wrong. And I think I left that meeting being like, what, he said a lot of good stuff. And I needed to hear that. And it wasn't a no, and it wasn't a like you're doing bad. It was more like a training of like, cool, I'm probably gonna do this, what you're asking me for. But I want you to understand what you're asking for and how we view it and how you should be using it and what makes us feel like it's a the right thing to do for you so that we're not actually harming you. And I was like, "Oh, that's actually really interesting." And so I learned again because I've learned that lesson many times of being triggered by somebody, but then giving them the opportunity to kind of defend, did not even defend, but explain their stance, and then taking that in and realizing it's actually what I needed to hear. Like one of the things that I don't know if it was a counselor or friend or what the hell it was, but they'd say, if it doesn't apply, let it fly, or even better, like put it in a little package and put it on a shelf in the closet because you may need to access that later on. You may get to a place in your life where you're like, hey, somebody kind of told me about this once before and it actually applies to this situation, and not having an ego about it. Because a lot of the stuff that I learned come from people I don't really like that much or care about their opinions or whatever, or I might shut myself down to listening to what somebody's saying because I don't like the way they look or I don't like their politics or I don't like their beliefs. And I try not to let that cloud my judgment of what they're saying in the moment, as long as it's not like some ridiculous bullcrap that I'm totally against. But if we're talking about a job or we're talking about a life experience, there may be something really valuable in there. And it may just be the cover of the book that's tough, but the meat and potatoes on the inside has actually got some value and weight. And so I really do try to take those things, and that's why I can move through lots of different situations and types of peoples and atmospheres and be okay. And it's not because I'm doing it for some selfish gain. It's because I try to look at all people equal. And and I may not like where they're coming from or what they believe in or anything like that, but that doesn't mean that I don't like them as a person or I don't like aspects of their personality. Like there's certain people I'm not going to listen to crap that they say because they're just not good. And it may not be their fault. It may be some deep rooted stuff from their childhood that like is coming out in their life and it has kind of pushed them into being a version of themselves that just really sucks, and I really feel bad for those people, and they need prayers and support and whatever, but there are some people like that I'm like, you've just gone so far down that road, I'm not listening to anything, but for the most part, 99% of the time, there's something to gain. There's an old farm store here, and, when I first moved here in 2001, 2002, which I gotta be careful on my stuff because my mom listens to the podcast, and now other people in my family and people that know me, and so, like, sometimes I exaggerate a little bit because it makes the story cool or it makes it more exciting, and it's all harmless. Like, my mom's like, I don't know if 100 people worked for your grandpa. I said that last time. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it was. And there was a lot. And we talked about it. And she's like, it could have been. Um, actually, after we talked about it. And she remembered me going to work with him, but it was kind of funny that like I gotta be thinking about those things. And when I went into the farm store when I moved here in 2001, 2002, and this is all relates back to exactly what you were just talking about. I I come from the north and it's kind of a weird thing because there's still that whole like Yankee vibe at times. And I'm sorry, I am a damned Yankee. But the building official says I will be a local when there's 3 generations of me here. So there is one. One day there might be 3, so watch out. I might be local one day. Um, but speaking of local, I got some local love going right here. Buffaloes. We've been going to the high school basketball games. I'm going to circle back to the farm store. We've been going to the basketball games in town, and I got to say, it's a lot of fun. And it's a cool way to be in the community. Um, Brian Harmon does a great job coaching, Stern, um, Ross Snead, they just do an amazing job, and to watch those kids play their hearts out, week to week and sometimes multiple times a week, it's been a really cool community event, and I've never done that in all the 20 plus years I've lived here. I haven't gone to many, like, high school events, and it's a scene, man. It is, like, exciting and intense and crazy, and my daughter cheerleaded this year, and it's been awesome. But I wanted to give a shout out to the Floyd Buffaloes. They're in the playoffs and they're great. And if you haven't seen them play yet, go check it out. But going back to the farm store, I was kind of intimidated to go into that farm store because it was like the Floyd farm store and they're farmers. And I grew up thinking farmers were super cool. And I was like, in my own mind, it wasn't like somebody said, you need to like farmers because they're super cool. I was always fascinated by that culture. And I went into that farm store and I was kind of intimidated because it's not welcoming. It's just like you're going into a deep cultural situation that is like community based. And so it's like going into someone else's turf, and I don't know if other people feel that way, but I felt that way. And I went in there and I was like, I need batteries. And they're like, down yonder. And I was like, okay. And I'm like walking around because I've never actually used down yonder before. So I didn't know that you have to pay attention to head movement and eye movement because that's how you know where down yonder is. And I kept walking around and he's like, down yonder. And I was like, I was like, and I'm like, where are these freaking batteries? Because I don't want them to know. So finally I got the batteries. It was like a good experience because I was in the cool farm place. And I kind of got over my fear of like going into a situation and that I might not go to if I let my fear get in my way. And I started to gain a relationship with a group of people that nowadays is a very important one to me, and I might not go in there because I'm like, how does the farm store benefit my construction company? How does that, but it benefits me in a way where I'm engaging with a core community culture, and I love those people. We've grown to where I'm friends with their grandkids now. And the original owner used to carry Esma around in the store and give her a free apple and different things like that. And to me, going into that farm store, getting over my fear of it, bringing my business there for gas and different the straw and grass seed and stuff like that taught me a multitude of things. It taught me about trying new situations, making myself vulnerable, and the importance of community, you know, and accepting all different people's beliefs. You know, they're in farming, I'm in construction. It doesn't cross translate well, but like without food and without seeing how those guys who are running a business that I'm assuming is check to check and like super intense and low margins and doing it because it's a passion and they're growing food for everyone to live in a world where it's getting tougher and tougher to be a farmer. I love seeing that. And I love seeing the community rally around small businesses like that we actually need, that are essential. You know, construction is, I know it's considered an essential business, which it is. People need places to live. Most of the stuff we're building is not totally essential. I mean, you can live in a tube, you know, but like a decent sized tube, not a tiny tube. But we're building houses that are a little more than essential at times. But food is, you know, and I consider that farming industry one of the most important things. But, you know, back to my point, I just think that you just don't know where your lesson's going to come from, you know, and I work with people that are less educated. I mean, I don't consider myself extremely educated. I consider myself in like the 25% zone, you know, so there's some people less than that. And I look at some of their relationships with their kids and their wives, and I'm like, that to me is like an education. Like they have dedicated their life to their family and raising them in the country. And I think there's something to be learned about that, you know, and I just think it's, you just don't know where the lessons are going to come from, you know, and I think all throughout the day, I kind of get excited, like leaving here. I'm going to our family farm to have breakfast, you know, and then I'm going to go to the office for a couple hours, and I'm not sure what's going to totally happen. And I'm kind of excited about that. I kind of am like prepared for it. It could be bad news, which sucks. It could be good news. You know, I signed a really cool contract this week for the Floyd Humane Society. I know. I'm stoked. It's been a nail biter, you know. Not because anything bad happened. It's like it's one of the things I want to talk about on the podcast this week. It's like tough situations. Um we bid the Humane Society project. That was a bid. Went out to a bunch of people. I had to present my bid, which is always a lot because I don't play the part of like I'm gonna look good and wear a suit and like laminate everything that I'm presenting and all that stuff. I'm more like I'm gonna roll in with my hoodie on and my hat and I'm gonna be myself because that's what you're gonna get the entire construction process. So I don't do smoke and mirrors very often. And some people that wear suits and do those things, it's not smoke and mirrors, it's just what they wear too. You know, but like I'm not gonna change who I am. So there's nothing wrong wearing suits and ties and all that stuff. I just don't do it that much and I'm more authentic to who I am. And people that wear that every day and that is their uniform in the world, that's authentic to what they're doing as well. Um, but I went to that meeting and I pitched myself to them and said, "This is what you're gonna get," and I won that job. And I also spent a lot of time on the numbers to get them right. You know, sometimes the estimates that you really want to get, you sharpen your pencil and you fine tune. It's not that you're giving discounts or you're reducing your costs. You're just making sure that your costs are accurate, very accurate. That you don't get to a category in your estimate and you're burnt out and tired and you say, "Ugh, I can't remember if they need 10 lights or 15 lights, so I'm going to put 20 lights in." You know, you go back and you say, it's not 15, it's 10 or it's 8. So that saved them $300, which if you do that 6 times, that's I was gonna try and do the math in my mind. That's $900.
Whoa, that was incredible.
Dude, wow, I did it. But you do that enough times, and it's actual real savings. And so that's what I mean by sharpen your pencil. It's not giving things for free. It's not reducing the cost of things to the point where you're not making money anymore and undercharging and trying to make it up on other people or in the course of that job. It's you're just refining. And so we got the job verbally, which was a huge what's a great feeling, honestly. Anytime you get a job, whether it's the $5 maintenance fee of like fixing a garage door opener or um a multi-million dollar project that you're super excited about because you're going to work there for a year plus. You know you've got a job that's going to put food on the table for your people that work for you and your families. And so getting a job was like a huge moment, and then the real work starts. So it's like, yeah, we did it. And then it's like, oh crap, we did it, man. All right, let's buckle in, because this is going to be a wild ride. So getting to the point of signing contract was another couple months of working through schedules and time frames and working through logistics like insurance, and it gets tough because I think you get that initial reaction of I've got this job to wanting to go celebrate, and however you celebrate, whether it's like eating Mexican or buying a new hat or I don't know, renting a movie on Amazon or getting a beer, which I don't drink, but that doesn't mean I don't think drinking's okay. It's fine for people that it's okay for. Um, so it comes in all different ways, but I think when the rubber meets the road, it's like you get those emails, you get those phone calls and those texts. Now that we're working through the next layer of contract, you got to follow through with them, because sometimes you might say I'll get to that in the morning, or I'll do that a little later, and then you might not remember, and a little later becomes like days, and then people are second guessing, like, did we make the right decision by going with this company if they're not responding? And I think it's really critically important to make sure that you're responding on a regular basis and staying plugged in, because it's like even the small jobs, and that's how I learned it. Like, talk about the $5 garage door, because I literally have a job going on like that right now. I'm still responding to that. As little and menial as I feel like it is, it's still really important to the person that's asking for it. And you don't even know why they may have asked you to do that. It may be that it's just not working. It may be that they spent 36 hours straight trying to get into their garage in a windstorm, and they were scared or freaked out or had to use the bathroom and whatever. And so it could be a lot more behind that $5 job than meets the eye. So you got to kind of treat it as if you would the multi-million dollar job, and the level of communication that you have around it. And so, you know, working through the Humane Society stuff, it was a cool experience. I mean, they're a good group of people. There's a lot of personalities, and you'll find that in all different jobs. Some jobs have boards, some jobs have husbands and wives, some jobs have singular person. That singular person could be as many things that you have to work through as an entire board, or it could be quite the opposite, So you just have to be prepared at all times for any way a situation may present itself to you. And, so working with the Humane for the past couple months, we've been working through like value engineering, which means trying to save money. It doesn't mean cutting costs to where they're getting garbage, but it's like, hey, the engineer recommended this. We could do this. It's just as good or maybe even better. Because just because you have an E in front of your job name, like engineer, doesn't mean that you're still not going to possibly make, I wouldn't even call it a mistake, the best decision for that job. Sometimes Noah, Spencer, Luke, Courtney look at a job and say, well, we could actually save a little bit right here. And it doesn't actually change the job, or it actually makes it better. But we can save the client 50 grand. It's worth it. And a good engineer is going to be like, great, let's do it. I approve that, because you still want to get it approved. So working all through all those things with the humane, helping get insurance, doing things that some contracting companies may say, we don't do that. I'm kind of a yes person. I'm kind of like, oh yeah, of course we help get insurance. Let me put my insurance hat on. We're not agents. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not false advertising here, because you don't want to do that in business. We don't break the law. When it says on paperwork, you need 10 years of experience to be this level of contracting, I don't lie about that. I don't lie about my education that I've gotten or sugarcoated or anything like that, or my job experience. But when it comes to helping get insurance, I'm going to say, yeah, I can help with that, because I'm going to put them in touch with the people that they should be talking to that are educated in that situation. When they say, hey, we need, soil and erosion work, we can help with that. We're not engineers, civil engineers, but we know who are and who does a good job. So we're going to put you in touch with that, and we're going to go beyond putting you in touch with them, and we're going to go to the first meeting with you and help explain the project, so that the person that's trying to save dog and cat's lives isn't trying to explain soil and erosion work, because that's not their wheelhouse, So that process has taken a few months of going through that with them, and we signed contract this week, and it was like super exciting. And it kind of stunk, because Spencer is the project manager on that, and he's at the International Builders Show. I keep calling it convention because it sounds good.
Just remember, the sign has a big IBS.
Yeah, which also stands for internal bowel.
Irritable bowel syndrome.
Irritable bowel syndrome.
Hashtag IBS 2026.
Yeah, nah, the kids had a really good time there. He wasn't here to be a part of that, and I kind of felt bad, because I wanted to sit up because I don't want to look fat.
Hey, while we're adjusting, pull their mic down just a little bit, just from the base.
up his
there you
neck.
go. Yeah, I want to see your chin.
I don't want you to see how I look, but baby bro does. So Spencer wasn't there for that, but it was a super exciting moment for them to come in. They brought a dog. It was really fun. We're going to kind of get together on a monthly basis to like talk about what's going on with the project, include them in on it. All the people that were a part of the fundraising for it, like get them included on it, so that it feels like an experience for everybody involved. And in that experience, I don't want to like paint a picture for myself that it's going to be all peaches and cream, because there's going to be some tough times. That is with every job, every single job, even the Humane Society, it's been tough at times. When I'm getting asked questions that in my mind, I feel like somebody should already know the answer to, and it's only because of my experience, and that's one of the tricky things with experience, where I think experience and ego sometimes make you a jerk, because you may say, how do you not know that? And it's because I know it very clearly, because I've done it 35 times. none of those people on that board, from what I know, have ever built a new humane society building. So they don't know. But I sometimes in my mind say, they should know that, because I've done it so many times, it's easy. And I tell that to my project managers all the time. I'm like, we build houses every day. We know the ins and the outs of all of it, the contract, the money roll, the decision making process. So it's like, how does somebody not understand that they got to pick a countertop right now? The truth is it feels natural to us because we're in the mode of it and we're doing it all the time. For them, it's the biggest decision they could be making. I said this before on different podcasts. Building a house is like one of the biggest things that most people are ever going to do in their life. There's other things like having kids and getting married and stuff like that, but it's a really big deal to them. All those decisions are huge, and I don't ever want to like diminish that in myself. So when I'm looking at a dirt pile and where it's placed and how it's worked out at the end, and don't think it's a really big deal because I've done it 1,000 times, it's a really big deal to them because that's the first time they're going to do it and probably the last. And so I try to remind everybody that works with me is like, you think it's a burden when somebody asks you to a question about a window or a placement, but it's a huge deal to them, and you got to look at it that way and make it exciting. It's and as soon as you kind of let that guard down, I don't think you have to make it exciting anymore. It just becomes exciting again because you're doing something for the first time for somebody, or it might be the second, third, fourth. Some people have built that many houses or projects, but it's still way more exciting for them, and you want to be a part of that. It makes it a lot more fun. It makes you excited to go hang out with somebody that you're doing this cool project that's super cool to them. Because we might be building a 15,000 square foot house that isn't exciting at all for somebody that thinks 1,000 square foot houses are cool, or vice versa. So trying to go to that place with your client, that's one of the reasons we try to match people up, and say this client should work with this person. And I think it's an important a thing is not just sticking whatever project manager's available. We might even shake it up and say, hey, we got to pull you off this project to a degree to put you into this project because you're such a good fit for it. And it's going to make this client's experience so much better to work with you, you know. But no, it was a super cool week to sign that contract and the excitement in the office around it, I mean, we sign contracts a lot and it's always exciting. It doesn't matter if it's humane, a house, a government building, or whatever. It's always just a cool feeling. And then when I went in the office this week too, there was like this super hot chick in there too, and I was like, "Whoa, dude!"
Whoa, dude.
It,
Careful.
it was Rye.
Oh.
Yeah, nah, she started coming in this week, and I was like nervous about working with somebody that I'm that close with. You know, I say a lot of times I'm a different person at work. I think there's some truth to that. I think that I'm not different. I'm just in a mode. I'm locked in. I'm moving fast. I'm not doing the little signs of affection that I would if we were just like on vacation or whatever, which I don't know. My language of love is not little signs of affection. It's like, I'm going to build a whole new kitchen because you don't like this one. That's my language of love. But I try, because in counseling, to show some affection, because sometimes that sounds corny, but I'm going to go there. Sometimes what my language of love is not what my girlfriend's is. And I got to try to be like, aware of that, and talk about my girlfriend, which I hate saying, but I love her to death, and it is what it is. Um, I think that the language of love thing is kind of funny because it does translate into a lot of the things that I do. And you do have to find the things that make people happy and feel supported, and so I don't force myself. I make myself more aware that I need to put my hand on Rye's shoulder from time to time because she might like that instead of building everything that I think she wants. But this same thing is with clients. They may want you to be a certain type of support for them and trying to figure that out. And it's not that you're like lying. It's just you're trying to meet them on the levels they need to be met on, you know. Um Lying for me would be like telling a client, "We're going to be done in 1 week," when you know damn well you're going to be done in 4 weeks to make them happy. I wouldn't do that. I'd say something like, "I know you really want this done in a week, but it's just not possible. And I'm going to do everything I can to get it done as quick as I possibly can. And I'm really sorry that we're an inconvenience for you right now." You know, or even better yet, be realistic about your schedule. You know, I mean, people say from the beginning, well, people can build houses in 9 months. And I'm like, not the kind of house that you want to build, unfortunately. It's going to take a year. And it's probably actually going to take 14 months because of weather delays. But we'll do everything we can to build it in 11. So that's kind of like meeting in the middle. That's like telling somebody what they want to hear with some realism to it, of like, the truth is, but we hope to, and then following through with that. So your words are only as good as your actions, and you really got to kind of follow through with what you've laid out. But going back to like where I working in the office, it's awesome, man. Like, I think I've always said I don't want to work with the person that like I'm in love with, because people say that, but I think once you're comfortable enough in your own skin and you know what your responsibility is, it's totally fine, and I feel like it's going to improve our relationship. I'm super stoked about it. I mean, I looked over at her yesterday working in there and she smiled at me and I was like, that's awesome. We're still smiling. We'll see what's going on in a month from now on podcast 25.
Yeah. If you buy another accidental dump truck and she's got to sign the check.
I picked up that dump truck yesterday. Thing's freaking awesome, dude. I felt so cool. Unfortunately, it's going to become a work vehicle.
Oh, it's got to be.
It's got to be, man. And it's going to be great, and it's going to fill something that we need, especially going into this year with the type of work that we have. I mean, it's going to be a super busy year. I mean, it's going to be like a lot of action and good stuff. I'm really excited about the things that we have going on. I'm excited about the team. I think that it's funny, so Noah, Courtney, and I, and Abel were really the founding kind of members of Omnibuild. Now, there's that I'm talking about one aspect of Omnibuild. There's kind of two aspects. One aspect of Omnibuild is kind of the management aspect of, and there's also different layers of management, but the management aspect of it, Courtney, Noah, mostly, because Abel was part of more of the other management of like infield, like boots on the ground type aspect of it. So Courtney, Noah, and I, years and years ago when we were building this thing, we were actually working in the library and like kind of the community room. That's where we would meet and kind of figure out we didn't figure out how to do spreadsheets. Courtney already knew and was very good at it. And helped us create ones for Omnibuild, um, we talked about a management structure that was just kind of a fleeting thing. Um, and looking back on it, I think when we were talking about it, I didn't know if it was actually even possible. And I don't even know if I actually knew what it was even talking about. But we would talk about a structure of how we wanted things to be and what was going to make it better and easier, and what was going to make it more exciting and fun and profitable, you know. And that was over 10 years ago. Um, and it's funny because I think this week, I really think it was this week, I looked at Courtney, and I don't know if I said this or not, but I was like, and Noah, I was like, I think we're almost there, man. I was like, I think all the things that we've talked about with how we wanted the management structure to be and the company to be, I think it's actually happening, and it feels really good. And we're right there, man. We are implementing a new structure this year that I feel so good about, and it has taken a lot of stress and a lot of shouldering, Noah, Courtney, myself, Tree, Jody, Christy, Brooke, Luke, Olivia. Hey, we've shouldered so much. Spencer, Matt Pace. We've shouldered so many responsibilities over the years at different times. Luke, you know, that it's too much for one person to take on. And I think this year we have really, which it's only 2 months into the year, I think we've honed in on like how this thing's gonna work, and what really works well. And what really works well for us is, how do we get this amount of work done with the resources we have, which are the people that are managing it, and let our clients have a good experience and pay attention to a budget and a time frame, and deliver. And we are all sharing that load now in a different kind of way, and it feels really good. I'm stoked, man. I want to teach people how to do it here soon. Like, I really do. Like, um I think it's just like a cool kind of, I think people call them epiphanies, when you're like walking around, you're like, "Whoa, dang, that's cool. And we created it, or we figured it out, and like we're a part of it, and how do we tell other people?" And some people might not want to do that, you know. Um there's definitely points where I'm like, I don't know if I want to tell people how I did that, or I don't know if I want to share my spreadsheet. I mean, years ago, I follow people on Instagram, and it's kind of freaking hilarious. Um, I hear about things like people that look a certain way, but they don't really look that way because they're AI generated photos, or they got Botox in their forehead, or whatever they got going on. But don't believe everything you see on Instagram, There's a lot of real stuff on there too, but just be careful, because I had a real tough time with a job years ago. Couldn't figure out how to get the contract right. Couldn't figure out how to make sure that my numbers were right. I couldn't figure out the answers to some of the questions they were asking me, because these people were business, like super DEFCON level, like UFO level. Like, I mean, extra terrestrial knowledge, dude. I was like, what are they throwing at me? And I was like, I, I don't even know, man. So I went on Instagram and I was like, this guy knows. And so, like, but the cool thing was, is I messaged him, I got his number, and I called him. And I was like, dude, I'm in deep. I did get one thing out of the conversation. Um, I was getting a lot of questions about how I get my numbers on a bid. And I could explain a lot of that. Like, but I'm not going to give you my spreadsheet because it's proprietary. And that's what I got out of what he said was your process of how you've arrived at this was proprietary. The numbers are important and you need to be able to break them down to a degree that they want to see if you want to do the job. You can also say nope, and they might not use you, and that is your choice ultimately. But what I learned mostly out of that is he was pitching a lot of stuff online that felt really good because he embellished it and it seemed extreme and there were like cool noises and flashes of light and stuff. And I was like, whoa, man, I just got to get this thing because it's going to take me to the promised land. And when I asked him, he's like, yep, you can have all of my wealth of knowledge for 40 grand. And I was like, that's a deal. I'm going to work at Hardee's on the weekends to like make enough money to pay for this thing. And that's what my initial mindset was. And then I was like, can you explain it to me? And I was like, oh, we already do that. Like, okay, cool, man. Like, let me think about it. But no, I don't want to do that because I already knew a lot of the answers to the questions I was being asked, or at least knew how to get answers to the questions I was being asked. And one of the real important things in those situations is, and I this is a secret move. And people are probably gonna hear and be like, that's not a secret. Or I already do that, or that's dumb. But for me, one of the most important things that I try to teach to my project managers is that you don't ever want to say I don't know, and you might not know. So saying I don't know is probably the really true, honest thing you may say in that situation. But saying, let me look into that, or let me ask Matt, or let me ask Haley or Olivia, or let me ask the project manager, or let me get back to you on that, or yeah, I'm pretty sure we got that, but I want to check, making somebody feel like supported, because when you hear things like I don't know, it's kind of like, ugh, they don't really know, like they don't know what they're doing, you know. Um and a part of what we were talking about earlier is utilizing your tools and and processing data and being able to adapt to situations. Like, pull yourself out of that meeting and figure the answer out to the question and respond right away and make somebody feel whole, you know. um it just fills people with a lot more confidence in what you're doing, with that experience of contacting that guy on Instagram and building the things that Courtney, Noah, and I did over the past years. I've realized that we've built a very honest and very grassroots situation, that what we have built is based on real life experience. It's built on tough situations and working them out, over time. And not throwing a blind eye to the situation that we're working on, but using it as a learning experience of how we can get better. And I think this year is going to be one of our best years. And best isn't scaled for me. And I know I've said this before on a monetary gain. It's on a feeling, that how are we all functioning through this, and the other side of the management side of Omnibuild is all the people in the field. And it's all layers, like the management side on the office side, it goes down all the way to the lowest person that works in there. It's a team effort, and same thing in the field, we we work all hand in hand. The person that's driving down the Sherwin-Williams to pick up stain to bring samples to a client meeting in North Carolina is just important as the person leading a charge on the front lines, of making sure a build's actually happening, And I try to make everybody aware of that, because I think that's why we get the productivity that we do, is that everybody out there's important. And I think that when you feel that way on a job, that's how you take the job. You feel important, you feel like the job's important, your position in the company is important, and you want to do good. You want to make sure the job site feels clean and good. I say it all the time. There's a builder that we worked with for years in Floyd Benny Harris, awesome guy, friends with his family. Um, it's good person. He gave me a chance when I first moved here, and I was also building company. So that's a tricky situation, for another builder to give a builder a chance. But his job sites were so clean and organized. And I say it to this day, and nobody freaking knows because there's only a handful of us that have worked on Benny's jobs. Our job should look like Benny's job, you know? And they're like, what? And I'm like, make sure it's clean. So, um, I think that's just goes to show you never know where you're going to learn something. A lot of times I could just go into another builder's zone and critique everything. And sometimes I do that in my mind. I don't let everyone else know that I'm doing that. I think it's natural. But I think what you do with that critique is the most important thing. Are you going to like talk crap about them and build this whole story in your community about how somebody sucks? Or are you going to say, I don't like how they keep the job site clean, but they do this pretty good? I think it's a much better way to be about it. One of the things I talked about last time was working with kids and doing the job fair at the high school and stuff like that. I want to talk about that just a little bit more. One thing that's come up here recently is I'm getting an intern from one of the local universities this year. Somebody in some kind of building trades. I'm going to find out more about it. Like he's obviously in some kind of class, whether it's architecture, business management, construction, or whatever. But he's going to be shadowing me for the year. I'm pretty stoked about it. I get to meet him in a few weeks, and they try to place people. They asked a bunch of questions. We had to fill out paperwork. Brooke did a really good job with that. So they want to place people with the right fit. And so I got placed with this kid. He's an adult, I guess, because he's in college. So, but a part of it was looking at what he's got going on. So he's like doing some small remodel thing. And I don't know if it's at his parents' house, if he's been fortunate enough to buy a house in college, if it's like in the classroom or something like that. But that information was in there that he's working on a personal project that he's really like interested in and hoping to learn from me so that it can help benefit him and his next things. So our first meeting, my initial reaction was, well, he needs to come to me because I'm helping him. And then I kind of thought about it and I was like, he's actually doing this cool project that he's really proud of that's probably going to seem really small to me and insignificant in my mind. I'm not really going to put that out there, but it's so freaking important to that kid that's working on it at this point in their life that I probably should go to him first and meet him at his project to show that person how important I think it is what they're doing or how important it is the thing that they're doing. I think that translates into so many things in life because I think nowadays, like, I don't know if people, I feel this way and I feel like everybody says this to me. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm just so busy. And I feel like 20 years ago wasn't that busy, like in general. Like, and I don't know if it's because we have phones now. I don't know if it's because you have constant access to everything, like literally on this tiny little box, rectangular thing. It's like, and so like, I don't ever want to be so busy that I don't take a kid's thing serious. And that goes for my own kids and their own world. Like if they want to do something, and Rye's really good about that. Like, my daughter wants to ride a dirt bike. Make the time to get her dirt bike out to the land so that she can do it. you don't wanna miss those opportunities, and I want this kid, I don't even know what he's doing yet, but I'm gonna go and I'm gonna check it out, and I'm gonna try to get as excited about it as he is and understand what it is he's doing, even if I think I've already done that thing 6,000 times or know how to do it better. The whole reason they reached out to me to intern or have an intern was because they see I take pride in what I'm doing, um, stuff like that. And so I think it's so critically important to believe in our youth and the people coming up. And one of the things that we've been working on, there's all sorts of resources out there. It's like um, I try to utilize them. I haven't always done that, you know, but I'm on the Economic Development Authority in Floyd, which is a great service and a great experience for me. I thoroughly enjoy doing it. But what it's shown me, and it's not through the EDA, that there's all sorts of programs, and so I've been like, what kind of programs are there for construction? Because the EDA is all these programs they use that are government supported, that are out there to help economic growth. What type of programs out there that help construction growth? And so in the past year, we've been engaging in those, and I've gone to some of these meetings for employee workforce something. I don't remember the exact names. I can get them, but I go to these meetings and it's about trying to place working people, programs the government has in place to help people transfer from one job into construction, and all these great programs, apprenticeship programs. I've been learning a lot. I haven't gotten any like financial help yet, even though there is some financial help potentially there. Um, that could be a smoke screen to get me to keep coming back, that I might get some financial gain. But what I have gained is that there's a huge problem with kids not getting excited about construction and going through the process. And so I have opened up like the apprenticeship zone in my company, and I haven't gotten any financial help, but I've realized the value in it and what it is. So these kids coming in here, and I'm not saying it's open book and every kid that comes through the door gets it, but the kids that want it, they want to learn a trade. They have put some energy into it and they understand I'm paying for them to take classes to become a licensed trade person. I'm paying for them to go to Connecticut or Richmond or wherever and take a class for a specialized area in construction to help grow them. And I do say some things like, well, if you go ahead and get your license, don't like quit instantly and be my competition, because I don't know how I might react to that. It has happened a few times and it's been a little bit tough. And I think the reason it's actually been tough is that when people leave a good situation, and whether they think Omnibuild is a good situation or not, at least the people they're working with, I think they feel good about, because I'd say 75% of the person, the people you're working with, you tend to like. And we try to build that culture here. It's tough to leave a situation like that. So sometimes you make a situation seem bad in your mind because it's easier to leave. So somebody may say, I've worked here for 10 years. Now I'm going to go start my own construction company. And all these people are like my family. And the easiest way to leave is to make it dramatic. And Omnibuild is blah, 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 this and that, and this. And then all of a sudden you build a case in your mind of why it's okay to leave. And sometimes it's just a lot easier to say, you know what, I'm going to try to better my position in life. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm gonna go and do my thing. I got a lot more respect for that than I do like the other, you know. And it's happened over the years, but with the kids, I don't want to say that, hey, you got to work here for the rest of your life. But if I'm gonna give you need to give a little to and have some respect, because the truth matters. You go start your own company. I'd love to give you work, but I want to feel good about that. I don't want you to leave in a bad way. And then I feel like crap wanting to help you, or second guessing that. Because I guess the way it says in the numbers is there's a lot less people getting their license in trades than there are leaving. And that's scary, we talked about trades being essential or not, and they are to a degree. Electrical, plumbing, HVAC, some building infrastructure. It is an essential thing that we need over time. And if AI starts taking over the universe, which I'm saying that, and AI is probably listening to me, and they're probably like, the computer machine's like, put Matt on the list that he's talked bad about us. So when we take over the universe, we got to make sure to deal with him. I don't know. That's what my mind goes to at times, but I know it's all probably because I watch too much sci-fi. So I think the youth, it's such a super important thing, man. How are we doing on time?
We were right up past our hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I think that's a good place to stop, and it leads into the next series of questions I'm sure people will have. How do you keep the kids interested? And how do you maintain relationships for your business when people want to leave and go start their own thing and be supportive? There's a lot of things that you said there that I think will definitely inspire the next conversation.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm going to also look at the comments with you and figure out who I need to drop merch off to. And definitely ask if you want to hear about something, or if you want me to continue talking about something. And if you don't ask, I'm just going to try and figure out something else to talk about, But thanks again for coming and listening. And I enjoy this, and I hope that you do too. So that's it. I'm going to
Sweet.
go eat breakfast at the farm.
Enjoy it.
Yeah. Thanks.
See you next time.
See you, bro.